Okay, great. Well, welcome everybody. I'm really excited and lots to share today, lots to cover. And I've always got to introduce you to Mark. But first off, oh, no, more people are still turning up. It's great. Uh, so welcome. And obviously, because it's Deckible, obviously we've got to say it with cards. For those of you who aren't aware, these letters that I've just shown on the screen there are created on Deckible through Deckible, and then we can say it with cards because, well, why wouldn't we? So it's a cool feature. I don't know if you've used that, but it's really pretty neat. You can turn your deck and then spell out anything you want from there. And so anyway, so this is our agenda for today. We're going to meet the extended team. We've got Mark here, but we're going to talk through the whole. There's 4 of us working on the project right now, so very excited. We'll talk through that. We've got a big website and app update, what's coming, market update, and we're going to take you through a demo of the Creator Zone, which I think is very exciting moving forward. So let's just dive right into it. Meet the team. So obviously you're all aware of me, my background. I've been working on this from inception, but today I'm joined by Mark Hudson, Mark and I basically met through Business Objects. We both sold our tech startups to Business Objects and met there. And then Mark is responsible for pulling together the team that have joined Deckible. So I'm going to let Mark introduce himself and talk through that stuff and then we're going to basically kind of share the rest of the talk today back and forth between the two of us. So
hey everybody, great to see you all, and great to be part of this fantastic community that is Deckible. Nick's done a wonderful job working with you all over the last year or so to create such a fantastic platform. Nick and I, in our drunken haze over the last 20 years, have always thought that we would eventually end up doing a company together, and it's just great to be part of this. The 2 gentlemen named Paul and Jason, who aren't with us today because they're busy coding. I've known Paul since I was at university, and I'm not telling anybody how long ago I was at university, but you can probably tell by the grey beard that was a while ago. And Jason is a very good friend, a very close friend as well, has been for over probably 25 years now as well. He was my first hire after selling my first business to Business Objects, and was with me when we sold my second business to another software company a few years ago as well. So Paul and Jason have always been in and around developing product, and have been core to Nick's team for the last year anyway. So then nothing changes there, but they've just come on board and invested into the business, and hopefully going to help us all fuel the Deckible rocket ship. But
yeah,
I'm just delighted to be here. Thank you.
great. Yeah, no, it's because you didn't realize this is the team that built the app originally that I hired to build it, and we're so excited that we've all decided this was the best strategy to go forward. So a market update. Oops. Basically, I think things have really changed up a gear recently with Deckible. And this is just totally normal. I don't know if you're aware of, if you've seen this kind of early adopters like curve that's fairly standard throughout industry. And I think it's important to recognize that you guys are all innovators. You're right at the beginning of this, and we've in bringing this product to market, we've sought out innovators. We've looked after you and nurtured your feedback and responded, and we've got to this wonderful spot now where we have over 500 decks, 1,000 creators on the platform, many more decks coming along. But it's always important to remember that we aren't all early adopters for everything, right? So when was the first talk? Maybe you've never bought from eBay. Maybe you've never even considered a Tesla. Maybe you've got Netflix and had it for years. Maybe you've never, maybe you've done Airbnb, or you think the idea of staying in someone's house is horrible, or having an Uber is horrible. We're all different. And we have to recognize that. And I think one of the things the reason I think about this a lot is I think we as a community we're about to bring a whole army of early adopters onto the platform in terms of consumers, people using card decks, and also more creators, right? Because as Deckible grows, as we reach this magical tipping point, and I have had this hunch that 1,000 decks is a magical tipping point, there's a lot of people who've heard of Deckible now. There's a lot of people come to Deckible because they've spoken to the community, or various things have pointed them to Deckible. So it's important to recognize all these tiny pieces of information that just add life. Like Deckible is a living thing. I think of it as, we're all pouring our energy into it, and you guys are too, and your decks are in there. The thing is a vibrant living thing, and we're moving along this adoption curve, and we're doing it together. And we just want to recognize that, people come along and have different resistances, but that's okay. We're going to teach them and step them through the process. So I want to shout out three examples, three people that just point to the fact of how we've moved along in maturity. So Michelle has various decks. She's always had 4 decks ever since I bumped into her and we got chatting. And she brought one to Deckible just as a sample to see how it went. And her first response was like, "Oh my God, I think I might use this more than I thought." She didn't really have a kind of thing about digital, but she started using the product and was like, "Oh, this is really good. I'm going to use more of it." And so now she's bringing the rest of her decks to Deckible. She's also actively introduced us to her publisher. So we're talking to Schiffer. Chris is another example. Her messages Oracle deck is probably the most shared Oracle deck on TikTok, period. You'll see, if you recognize the images of that deck, you see it everywhere. So Chris has done a wonderful job with that. Chris also has seven decks, and she's now brought all 7 decks to Deckible. She's introduced us to Rebel deck just this week. Deborah is another example, right? Deborah and I have talked many times over the last year, and we've gone through different resistances, questions, answers, feedback, resolution. And because I asked a lot of creators, why have you not shared Deckible? And they haven't. And that's perfectly fair and valid and fine, because they had things they wanted to see in the product, in stability, and whatever. And everyone's different. And so the last conversation I had with Deborah was, okay, you know what, when you reach trials, you've answered everything. I want to share it with my audience actively. I'm going to send it out to my email list. And Deborah's also since then, thanks Deborah, has also introduced us to US games, right? So these are all signs that, like, we're nurturing. We're doing our best to nurture. If you feel unnurtured, speak out to me. But I believe we're doing our best to nurture everyone on this platform, right? And so there's just 3 good stories. There's another 7 or 8 good 9 stories here. All these wonderful individuals have courses on how to create card decks, and they're all on Deckible. They're all supporting Deckible. They're not just passively on it, they're actively supporting it. We've passed 500 decks. All these people have run webinars with their audience, multiple webinars. We've got more webinars coming. I know I see Anna's on the call today. And there's something magical about the fact that if you get involved in card decks, you're going to find one of these people. And these people are going to direct you to Deckible. It's kind of magical. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've noticed, but all these cards are a special format. This format, I call this a meme card, is available to you. So you can create your own meme card in Deckible. You can colorize it. You can obviously change your bio photo to make sure it works with this format, but you can colorize it so that then these perfectly match. And here's 3 more examples of creators who've got their meme and have created these meme cards. And so the idea with meme cards is print them out, give them to people, right? We put everything on there to make it easy. You've got the photo, your name, your tagline, your deck name, your deck tagline. We've got your deck artwork, we've got your bio, we've got a QR code that'll scan to take you to your deck, right? It really is that simple. And if you like other creators on the platform, print a deck of the people you like and give those out too. Like, work collaboratively. One of the big themes of this is, we're really beating the drum of collaboration, and encouraging and giving tools to make it easier and easy for all of you to work together. I don't expect you to all work with everyone, but pick the 5 creators that you like, reach out to them, have a Zoom call, and ask each other, how can we help each other? Can we work together? Can we co-promote each other's work? Because we're fighting the algorithms. Obviously, if those who understand how Instagram and Facebook work, when other people share your work, you make yourself more interesting, but you also spoof the algorithm because people are co-promoting. And also, I ask you all to like posts, but not just like posts, because liking doesn't really get as far these days. Is write a comment. Just, hey, this is awesome. Just the simplest of comment. But I also encourage you to put comments on other people's posts across the Deckible community. If you want to make friends with someone, leave them 5 amazing comments. They'll feel wonderful. They'll absolutely want to speak to you. It's a really, really simple trick to do. And I'm more than happy to spend another hour talking about how to do that, because it really is. It does drive a magical community connection. And this is something that we know is essential to really driving forward. So meme cards are fun and you can make your own. So moving on from there, I wanted to share this deck. It's a fun deck. It's called the Feel Wheel deck. This deck has 123 emotions in it. The cards are circular and transparent. They come in 7 suits. There's 7 types of emotion, and you can drag the cards onto the screen and size them. So if you feel more confused or less confused, you can just size up that circle. I feel completely buried right now. Make that really big or small, right? We think it's a beautiful way of expressing yourself. I've talked to along the way how Deckible supports transparency, and nobody to this point has jumped in. And so I was like, okay, actually the true story behind this, I was at Edinburgh University seeing my daughter, and behind the desk in the University Hall of Residence where I was staying, an emotion wheel fell down. And that was the inspiration that led me to say, oh my God, I've got to make this. And that's where it came from. I also have a history in Venn diagrams, so this speaks to me. That's another story. And really happy this week. I've talked about this on social if you haven't seen it, but Russell Grant, his Astro Tarot deck that's been out of stock for a long, long time is now back in stock, and it's exclusively available on Deckible, obviously. Here's the collaging. By show of hands, I don't know if you've used the collaging on Deckible. If you haven't, you should. It's amazingly a powerful tool. It's really simple to create. Like in one click, I made this image. I didn't have to choose. I had to choose and said, I want a peacock. I clicked, and it goes and chooses me a set of cards and lays them out for me. And every time I choose a peacock, it'll give me different images. So you can share this image every day. Here's how you can spell out the letters from the alphabet. Anything you want, it's here. If it's not there, tell me. I'd love to hear. And, there's a cool thing. These are all stills, but watch this space. We're going to create animations here on Deckible and inside the app. Because, here's me talking about empowering 500 creators to share their decks. It's way more fun when we think about 100,000 consumers sharing the decks they bought. Deckible explodes when we empower consumers to do that. So that's very high on our priorities. But just to be able to do this I think is awesome. This is a random trend that I just noticed. I've known Shalini for years, and we've worked so closely over time. Her deck called Return is on Deckible. I strongly recommend it if you haven't bought it. I think it's awesome. She's oh my God, the obsession to detail, just designing her deck cover, my God. And she's now got a book, but she's been on Insight Timer for a good while. And then the last 6 weeks, probably, Keziah, Tom, and Jeffrey have joined us from Insight Timer. See, Tom has 70,000 followers. That's quite a following. Jeffrey regularly has calls and meditation sessions on Zoom with 400 plus followers. That's a lot of reach and exposure, and they've come to Deckible because they can see the power of what we bring, right? And I don't know if you've noticed in the very last release that we put out, if you drag a card that has audio on it, it plays instantly. So if you've seen Elena Brower's deck that has beautiful audio on every card. You drag it in, it plays it. Tom's deck, he sent me one of the audio tracks from one of the cards that they've got. Oh, it's beautiful. Like it's so powerful, so engaging. And so that's amazing to play that as you drag it on. It's totally in our plans to bring video up to the same level. So we'll be able to just play the video on the canvas once you've dragged cards onto the screen, right? So we think that's pretty cool. But this to me is very exciting. And so category design. Oh, yeah, just a minute. So talking about category design, and like it or not, we are creating a new category here. So digital decks, the digital experience is what we're creating, and pulling everything together, pulling all of wellness and your daily practice routine into one place is unique. It's new. And so one of the things when you're creating a category is you need to be repetitive. You need to be an educator. You need to keep saying the same thing again and again. So don't assume people know why they use decks at all. Because our biggest focus is we think the people who are using decks will be 10x where it is today. Right. So we're creating our mission is to create a bigger market for card decks than there is currently, because we're making them more accessible. We're making them more affordable. We're making them always in your pocket, wherever you are. But to do that, we need to teach people who don't know decks why they're so cool. Why do we love decks? Like if I asked everyone on this call, they could tell me, right? And we need to assemble that wisdom, that knowledge, and put that into the most powerful short statements to convey that to people. And then we all need to repeat that 1,000 times so people go, oh my God, I didn't know decks were quite so cool. Oh my God, look at all these decks. I didn't know there were decks on this and decks on that. Oh my God, all that stuff, right? So be willing to repeat yourself, but also be willing to share. If you find a better way to describe something, hell yeah, tell me about it. I want to share it with everyone, because we are solving that problem of how to communicate faster to everyone. Oh, Deborah, can you mute yourself? I can't seem to do that. That's too.
I think she has.
Okay, cool, got it.
Thanks,
cool.
Deborah.
Thank you. All right. So, and part of our vision to create a bigger marketplace for decks is to unify all the decks that exist into one place, right? Because the people who use tarot decks view decks completely different than people who use workplace strategy decks or digital learning decks or mindfulness decks. And if we actually present them all as one category, people go, oh my God, this is big. There's a lot of these. It's worth investing. It's worth my attention, right? And so we've created this 7-segment visual to capture the 7 segments that we think. And we're very open to discussing what goes where and what to name these things. It's very new thinking, but it really simplifies the card deck industry, because people do all of these things with card decks. We have a deck will be released by the time we launch that's going to explain the 14 ways that you can use cards, because we're really in that educational mode. We're going to teach people the value of shuffling, the value of choosing, the value of this, the value. It's like, oh yeah, great. We're really riding that horse hard, and you guys are with us on this. So you know, I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to hear what you're saying to people, and you are going to hear people say, oh, I'd rather have my deck on paper. It's like, fantastic. Yeah, we love paper too. But the 10 times the people who are not using decks today do not have a paper preference. They will be digital first. And Mark and I were chatting before, and he said, like, he was showing, well, Mark, do you want to tell the story about?
Yeah, it was a while ago. It was about 6 months ago. I was showing Deckible to my then 16-year-old son, who was had just gone through his exams here in the UK, and he looked at it, and I showed him a deck, and I showed him what you could do with the deck, and he said, Dad, if you'd have given me that but with revision and education notes on. Whilst I was doing my GCSEs, I'd have sat on the school bus and I would have gone left and swiped and I'd done draws and I would have learned and I would have been able to take notes and said I'd have used it all the time because I'm being forced to make paper notes. I don't want those. I don't want them in my shirt pocket. I need everything I go to is on the phone. So it was real eye opener to me that people of his age and my daughter's age as well, they gravitate to the digital device first, and they want to embrace that device first, and they want to use that format to interact with because it's just so familiar to them. I mean, try and prizing my the iPhone out of my 14-year-old daughter's hands hard enough, but giving her something that's educational that she can do and that she can get engrossed with, and it can be something that she can be habit forming and a ritual for her on a daily basis is a fantastic idea. So yeah, it was a real eye opener as to how maybe I personally like both. I would go, I like the fact that I've got decks in my pocket on my phone, but I also like the fact I've got physical decks when I'm at home and I want to use them at home. So for me, I can go between them, but I think there will be people and users and a community of users that you guys can reach out to that are and will only be digital, because that's just how they roll.
Yeah, I think we've seen that, with so many other technologies, music, movies, books, right? So we're just at a wonderful time, a wonderful moment, right place, right time. Self-care has exploded. Well, we're so many more people are talking about mental wellness, right? But how do we do it? Like, how do we do self-care? How do we do daily practice? I want to use the word gong show. We grab together a bunch of things from different places and we stick them together and we make our own solution. And then we get bored. And I lose that piece of paper. I lose my notepad that I had because I got a new one. I'm not going to carry all my notepads with me, but I want to refer back to what I wrote before. I can't find it because I've lost the notepad. Or how many decks can I carry with me? And which apps do I keep? And how many subscriptions do I hold onto? Well, what if we could show you, what if there was a way to do that in one app, right? And that's what we're heading towards. That's what we believe we're delivering on. We absolutely don't think we're done. Hell yeah, no way. Like, we've got so much more to do, but we're on a really good start and we're way ahead of anyone else that's doing this and thinking this way. So the card deck centric mental wellness based around a visual canvas, we think we're well on the way for that.
Absolutely.
And
in
yes,
many ways as well. Nick and I were talking just this week that if the fragmentation of all these apps at this moment in time, that's so fragmented. I go to my journaling app, I go to my meditation app, I go into my mindfulness app, I go somewhere else. The irony that actually probably puts more stress on me, because I've got 4 or 5 apps now pinging me and telling me to do things, and I'm going, hang on a minute, I bought these apps onto my phone to release stress, to actually get feel better, to be in a better place. Well, actually, Deckible brings me that, because I can pick my favorite card deck, I can do a draw, I can meditate, I can have some time to myself to think about tomorrow, what that's going to bring, and then I can journal, and that's all in the one application. And then of course we've got that in the timeline, so the user then has that, can look back and say, okay, what was yesterday like? Okay, right, I'm going to add some more notes to that, rather than having to squirrel around on their phone to find the various different apps that are capturing this information. So I think it's really, there's a move from these micro apps where we have lots and lots of apps to apps that are going to be multifaceted and do multifunctions. And I think we're going to see that in the social media world. I think we'll see that in with what Meta are doing, and certainly what Elon Musk is doing with X or
oh my God,
Twitter.
so true. So true.
And I think we're right at the cusp on it here at Deckible with our thinking as well.
Yep, absolutely. And so we have a very strong point of view. Our point of view is evolving. We've published it here. It's on the blog. If you look, you can see. You're more than welcome to share that, read it, give us feedback. It's a moving target. We're evolving it all the time, but we're very happy with where we are with it. And we'd love to hear your feedback. And we'd love you to hear your feedback of you telling people about our point of view and what words you use, right?
And
Um,
it's a really good point because this is our category, and
right, totally.
we all will be the leaders of this category. And it's not just Nick and the Deckable team creating this category. It's all you amazing creators that are coming together to help define this category moving forward. And that's why we're so keen to hear your thoughts, to read the blog, to read where we think the category is heading, because we'll define it, and we will all be the leaders in it. And more people, more users will gravitate naturally towards Deckible.
Yep, absolutely. So this is just a similar kind of message, but we're trying different messages in different ways to get this across. But we feel passionately that we're all tired of consumption. Do I need to watch, read, consume more information? No, I want to participate. I want my voice to be heard. I want to do something. And that's what's wonderful about card decks is you move things around, you structure them. That's actually saying something. It's making a choice. Journaling on it is going deeper into that, right? So that mindset, and we're thinking like, where next? What can we do more of that? Because that's our point of view. The document we put together is what's driving us forward, and our vision on that is, I think we think that's very, very, very important, very exciting. So, and we're not the only people that's thinking this. Like, I came across these by accident, but these three people have 1 million followers each. So I don't know if you've heard of Esther Perel, but she's got a very successful TED Talk. She's like a sex therapist, and great TED Talk. If you've not watched it, well worth it. She's wonderful. She's created a card deck, which is basically just a deck of questions. She calls it a game, but it's basically a card deck. Mark Groves, 1 million followers, created a wonderful relationship deck. And Stephen Bartlett, very famous UK entrepreneur. He does the Dragon's Den in the UK. He's got 1 million followers plus. And he's created the conversation cards. And it's funny, every single one of these have sold out. And then they printed it again and they've sold out. And it's like, hey guys, over here, you don't need to sell out ever again. We can sell it to you digitally, but trying to reach these people, they're like, gatekeepers left and right, deflecting every incoming email. So we'll get there. They will go digital. They'll probably go digital with Deckible if we've got anything to do with it. And I absolutely guarantee you, these will not be the last people with 1 million followers to be adding decks. We know this for a fact because we're speaking to a whole bunch of those. We have a very active pipeline of 1 million plus follower decks because we just know mainstream is coming, and we're just doing everything right to head towards that tipping point where Deckible takes off in a big way. So, okay. So, and then just heading into our plans, we just imagine this situation where imagine you turn up to Deckible today and 10,000 people join Deckible right now, right? And then imagine 10 people joining Deckible in 3 months' time. And then imagine joining in 6 months' time. And as we evolve the product, because we've built a product now, 3 months makes a big difference. We can do a lot in 3 months. So our story improves, our metrics improves, our insight into how people are using and what they're saying improves. We get more creators, more decks, more reasons to stay, right? The experience becomes better every 3 months, right? So that's cool. We call it 3 cohort thinking because we call a cohort 10,000 people. We can track them and how they move forward. But beyond that, there's some meat beyond this because what we're actually putting into the next 3 releases, we think is really exciting. So the next thing you've heard me talk about is trials. And trials is basically where you can turn up to Deckible, know nothing about it. The free decks are going away, and you're going to be able to choose the deck you want and trial it for 3 days and use it and fall in love with it and buy it, or don't and try a different deck and buy that, right? Trials are really simple, and the lack of trials is an obstacle. We knew that was an obstacle. We just had to get to the point of being able to remove it, and we're there now. So the next release will include trials. 3 months later, our aspiration is to bring out challenges. Who's done a 7-day challenge, a 30-day challenge, a 100-day challenge, right? I really doubt there's anybody here that hasn't been involved or heard of or got a friend involved in one of those, right? And card decks are perfect for that. 30 card deck, 30-day challenge, do a card a day, right? It could be an artistic challenge, create this every day. It could be meditate every day. It could be do this random act of kindness every day. There's a different deck for every kind of challenge. Now, you can do challenges today. I don't know if Rosie Batista and Lou Vuitton have just started a 30-day challenge on Deckible. They've got 50 people on their challenge, and their challenge is to create a 30-second, like a YouTube short every day for 30 days. And the card that they pick gives them the random challenge for the day, and they go away and do that. That's happening now. So you could do this right now in Deckible, but in the next release, we can do more. So I give you a random card every day, just comes as an alert to your phone. Here's your new card. Here's your day 2 challenge. Here's your day 3 challenge. Here it is, right? We can enhance that experience through the app. And we've had such strong validation from people who are already doing that, want to create decks that do that, want to use their existing deck to do that. And just challenges are a wonderful way of bringing people to the platform. Because as people see the platform and they experience a challenge, they invite friends to join them. It's a social experience, right? And then the third thing that we're working on beyond challenges is and we haven't got a great name for this, so I'll just call it membership decks. So this is a deck where you don't just buy the deck, you buy membership to the deck. It's a membership community where you pay monthly to access a deck. And as part of that monthly membership, you get access to the content. There's limited access to the creator, but there's access to the community, all the other people who own the deck. And whenever you go to a conference or you attend a course, you pay for those 3 things: the content, the creator, and the community. And we can package that in Deckible. And some creators have said to us, well, I don't promote my deck because it's not very expensive, and I'm really interested in selling the big ticket thing. So we're like, okay, why don't we turn Deckible into the big ticket thing? And that's what we've done. Recurring revenue is good for everyone. And that's the mindset we have with membership decks. So we think that's really exciting. We think it's going to create transformative opportunities moving forward. So many things we can do with that. So here we've got 3 pretty big releases that we're going to deliver now in 3 months and in 6 months' time. And imagine the cohort of people who join now, who join in 3 months, and join in 6 months' time. So this is the plan where we're taking it, and all along the way, we're going to have more decks joining the platform. We're going to keep enhancing the user experience, the usability, fix any bugs that get introduced along the way. So we think it's a really solid product and a roadmap and a plan. And you know, I'm a technologist through and through, and I look at this and I think about it, and Deckible is a serious piece of engineering. It's so well engineered because we have a very serious engineering team behind it. So it's built for this. And most people I don't talk about this a lot because people are not that interested at this point, but you can use Deckible on your mobile phone and on your tablet, and it synchronizes across the 2. That's a serious piece of engineering. You can have it on your Android and iOS. It's the same thing. Serious piece of engineering. You know, there's going to be a desktop version. It's all part of the plan, right? It's very, very serious. So having that just means things are possible because of Deckible, right? And we currently, I think, yeah, we should move on. We'll move on.
Yeah, I was just going to just finish up a point on the membership. We're really excited about what the roadmap brings us because, as we've been already saying, you know, we really want to bring you a wider new users of your amazing decks, new card deck users who've never maybe thought about buying a physical deck before, and a lot of that cohort that we will together be talking to over the next 12 to 18 months comes from that digital first paradigm that we talked about my son or my daughter, and 20 plus, whatever age they might be, who are conditioned to subscription. We subscribe to everything in life now. You know, you can subscribe to razor blades. That's why I grew a beard. I got fed up of buying razor blades, but you can subscribe to razor blades. We subscribe and we consume our media content. We subscribe our news content. We subscribe our phones. We subscribe everything. And why can't Deckible be the same? Why can't card decks be the same? And I can build that community. I can engage with that community. I can engage with the creators. Card decks can be live. They can be living things. They don't have to be static 51 cards or 60 cards, whatever it might be. You as creators, if you have a membership, could add new cards in, and it can ping them to say, hey, new card in this deck. It's part of your subscription. So it's a really exciting way as we will grow over to 2024 when we get that cohort of users big enough for you guys to then start offering membership. And we hope that you'll get excited as we are about that.
So yeah, this is a community totally. And so this is a team effort. And so yeah, just moving forward, we've seen the impact of the team effort. Like our SEO has jumped up in the last month. It's just gone. So everything flows from that. And that's because we've kind of opened up Google has obviously given us more ranking, more people have heard of us, more people are sharing more decks. We've passed the 500 deck mark, so that's more people are sharing the decks that they've got. So this is all adding up. And one thing I would ask you all to do, if you haven't done this yet, is go to your deck, go to each of your decks, and then from that drop-down list, you'll see email deck link summary, and that will send you an email that looks like that image you see below. And that will list you. If you didn't know these, it will tell you the URL for your creator profile. It will tell you the URL for each of your decks if you have more than one deck. And it will tell you the genre profile, the category profile that all of your decks sit in. And we ask you to link from your website to those pages. So you can get my deck here. Here's my creator profile. Here's the genres that I'm in. Link to that from your website. If we can get 500 creators to do that, our SEO ranking in the eyes of Google will just go up and up and up. So, we're going to double down and get to 1,000 decks over the next 3 to 6 months because it's getting easier and easier. Like I wake up in the morning sometimes and people have loaded a new deck, and I go see, and there's a big backlog right now of decks to be approved. But that's magical. We've created a living thing where people turn up. They don't need to speak to me. They turn up, they watch a video, they upload their deck, they submit it for publishing. They've tested it in the app first. Boom. That's magic. And that's happening more and more and more, right? Super exciting. I could have spent an hour today talking you through, showing you all different decks that have joined the platform recently, right? It's very exciting, but we do need your help to give us this boost. So if you haven't done that already, please link to your decks. Also, by the way, if you know of another creator that's got a deck, I just please ask you to introduce them to us, to recommend to them that they join Deckible. We're still reaching out to people. People turn up every day. But the more decks we have, people will suddenly judge Deckible one day. Well, everyone has a magic number in their head. They don't even know what it is, but maybe it's 1,000 decks. They will see and go, wow, oh, there's a mass that will tip all the other people who've sat on the fence. And sitting on the fence is just perfect. It's fine, right?
And that goes back to that the slide that Nick had where it showed the graph. You're all innovators, so you're not even early adopters. You're before early adopters. And as we'll bring maybe 1,000 decks, we'll bring the early adopters on, and then we'll start to grow that way. And that's how these things grow. And Nick's been through all that with his previous startups as well.
Yeah, totally. So, you have a massive role. You guys are essential. The Deckible is only half of this. You are the other half of this package, right? And so you have a role in category creation. So you can be creators, evangelists, and collaborators, and it's all optional. You can do exactly as much or as little as you want to do. We invite you to do all of it. We'll do it as much as you feel comfortable. Do that now. And as you move forward, if you become more comfortable, do more with time. But I'm putting this into words so that you understand what you could or would be ideal if you did. So create great decks. You're doing that already, right? Have a great deck bio. Some people have not put amazing deck bios. They've not, write more words about it. Tell people why. if you struggle with writing, use Chat GPT or Bard to write an explanation of your deck. If that's not your skill set, which is possibly some people, that's fine. Write a great personal bio. The more you put on the bio, the more there is for SEO and Google to index and to find you in lots of different ways. Pick the collages. If you haven't use the collage tool, you can save it. Any image you create, you can save it and download it and share it to social. So make your own meme card, create new decks. There is a real story to a body of work. The more decks you have, the more decks you will sell. Honestly, the biggest truth right now is people who promote their decks sell their decks, and people who don't promote their decks don't. It's really that binary. And so it's important, but trying to show you what's possible. To be an evangelist of Deckible and of your decks. And I know creators hate this. This is not a creator's core strength, because we'd all rather create something than promote what we've got. But there's a point, if we can promote what we have, if we can promote the industry, can promote other people's work and say, hey, look at this is great. That is going to help other people who are sitting on the sidelines going, oh, this Deckible active community looks quite supportive. Everyone seems to be quite enjoying it. Oh, maybe I should join in, right? You can help influence those people to bring the lurkers, the people out of the shadows, to join Deckible, right? I've talked about 1-9-90 a lot. There's this 1% create, 9% comment, and 90% sit in the shadows. We can always invite the people in from the shadows. They're more than welcome. They're sitting there, they're curious, they're watching. Our traffic is showing there's a lot of that, right? So make and share decks, and your activity can change over time from before the launch. So over the next month before we release it, here's things you can do. I've grouped these into small, medium, and large asks, right? So you can do a small thing, you can do a medium thing, or a large thing. It's entirely up to you. You can do all of them. Wonderful. But choose and just think about, do the biggest thing you can. Do you know somebody in the media that writes on this topic? Great. Can you introduce them to us? Great. Do you have a podcast? I'd love to be on it. Do you know someone that has a podcast that say, hey, you should cover Deckible? Invite Nick. I know the guy. Or put yourself on the podcast and talk about it. Like, I don't need to be the center of all of this, but I'm more than willing to do. That's my job. I am the evangelist, the chief rah-rah guy, right? That's cool. But you're more than welcome to do that too, right? So these are all examples, and I put this just very out there. It's like, the more you do, the more other creators do, the faster we move along. And we've really kind of put our kind of heavy push into supporting everything that we're doing to get to this point. It feels really good, but there's always more to do, I think. So, but we're in a wonderful spot.
Fantastic. I hope it's just Nick that's frozen and not the rest of you. So I think it is just Nick that's frozen. Nick's in Bordeaux at the moment, so probably sampling the local wine. It was my section now to give you updates on website as well. So I think Nick will be the first person to put his hand up and say, actually, the website as it stands today is functional at best. So we've put a lot of time and effort into some of the messaging, and I know Nick shared some of this messaging and some of the initial drafts with you. So if you have contributed back, thank you so much. And we're going to be sending the link out so you can all have a look before it goes live as well. It's going to be launched alongside the sort of relaunch of Deckible with trials, and there's a big focus on wellness daily practice and workplace creativity. Deckible for creators. So what does Deckible mean for creators, and why should creators come to Deckible and bring their amazing card decks onto the platform? It's completely reactive. That's just a techie name for saying that it looks good on your mobile and it looks good on your desktop and anything in between. So it will resize itself. It won't look particularly. It won't look out of place on a phone, or it won't look out of place on a laptop, which is going to be great as well, because we have visitors coming from different formats. All the pages have been redesigned, so there's very much a lot of focus around product and your card decks. So all these images that are still at this moment in time, but they're going to be completely random. So for example here, this on the top hero slot, as marketeers call it on the website, those decks will change. So there'll be different decks every time somebody comes back to the website. So it's just a random image that's going to change and bring in different decks from the catalogue of card creators, as well as when it says explore a vast collection of inspiring card decks, that will change as well. You'll see when we share the link that there's GIFs, so there's animation. So we've recorded card decks and interaction with card decks, and we can save that as those as GIFs. And we're gonna show you as creators how to do that and how to make really great looking videos with that are framed with a phone as well, that you can then share with your followers as well. So and that we'll come to that as well. So the marketplace. So the marketplace so we have two marketplaces at the moment, as you know. Your decks can be consumed in the Apple Store, and they can be consumed via Deckible.com. We're adding a new marketplace over the next couple of weeks in time for relaunch, and that's going to be the Google Play Store as well. And we're just working on that this week. We will be redesigning the look of the marketplace as well, so it'll have the same look and feel as the website. So when you move from the website to some decks, it's not going to look out of place, etc. So that's getting done. And the big thing that we really that we're launching is deck trials. We wanted to take you through why trials and why trials are so important. And again, it comes back to this new way of people consuming content, and the new way that we consume content on our phones and on our devices is that we have become a community, a society of people who know they can try things, because you try every app that's on the App Store. You don't have to buy it straight away. So and we were finding that was a barrier. That's a barrier for some users who come onto Deckible. We're saying, well, yeah, I like the look, and we have had people who just literally like the look of the box and go, that's fantastic, or the cards, I'm just getting in and jumping in, which is fantastic. But we're also maybe just being held back to say, well, look, how do I just spend some time? Is it for me? Is it right for me? Are they going to speak to me? Are they going to these cards going to really resonate with me? So we believe that it will let those users embrace your decks quicker. And adopt your decks quicker. We believe it'll enhance the user engagement and the experience, because instead of when you go into Deckible and having those 2 free decks that are really annoying and everyone hates, and the amount of emails we get saying, please can you remove these card decks? I don't want them in my catalogue. They've gone. And what will happen is you will be asked what preferences, which categories do you like? What card decks are you interested in? Which allows us to start profiling our user base, so we can start allowing you guys to get focused around where you might want to, which users you might want to promote your decks to, etc. Because we'll have an understanding of who they are and what they like and what they're buying as well. It will drive faster deck sales, absolutely drive faster deck sales. People will trial the deck, they'll get into a deck, they'll love the deck, and then they will go off and buy it because they'll realize that they can't live without it. We've seen it in different mediums before, and we see it on the App Store, and there's a reason why Apple and Google are so successful at that as well. And it's going to remove that confusion, as I mentioned. So what's the process look like? Well, the process is really interesting. What we decided, we didn't want to do what Apple do and everyone else does, when it says every app you can try for 30 days or whatever. We believe trialing has to be focused. We believe you need time, but if you're given too much time, then you will drift away. You won't come back. You'll forget about it. So focus is very good, and focus is very good when we talk about card decks as well and doing draws, etc. So each user is going to receive a number of credits. At the moment, we're toying between 5 and 10. We can be swayed either way, and 1 credit will give them 3 days trial. So if they want to use 2 credits for a deck, they could go back in and retrial it and reuse another credit. When they purchase a deck, whatever deck that might be, we would give them more credits again. So we'll give them another 5 credits or another 10 credits. They will always have credits, and that they actually might be a point where they can actually give credits to their friends, etc., to actually invite new people to the platform. And along with trials, what we've also added is this creator zone. So there's a really nice question on here: is the one place that curators can connect and ask questions, etc.? That is absolutely coming. It's a fantastic question, and we're very much focused on a community that is creator driven, but also user driven, where the users come on and can engage with each other as well. So the creator zone initially is going to be your area to manage your apps, look at your trials, look at how your trials are performing, look at how your sales are performing. These are just some screenshots in development as we are at this moment in time. It will show you who's viewed your decks. It might even be able to at some point be able to show you where in the world they're coming from as well. So we like to think of it as Google Analytics for decks. If anyone's used Google Analytics on their website or it's well. I feel sorry for you, because Google Analytics is just a horrendous tool to use, and it hasn't got any better with GA4 for marketeers either, unfortunately. But it does, if you get to know it, and in my experience, I had to pay people to get to know it. You can get amazing insights about your audience, about the reach of your audience, and about the people that you're selling your card decks to. And that's our inspiration for Creator Zone. We want to show you why it's so important that you continue to market and you continue to put things out there, because you'll start to see the fruits through the creator zone. You'll be able to see what your best performing deck is, what your sales are like, what sales have like been over time. You'll be able to do all that analysis, and our background is business intelligence, we'll bring that down to its simplest format to make it really consumable, so you don't have to do the underlying data analysis. We'll do that for you and show you it in easy to consume big numbers, so you can jump in, get what you need, and get on with things. You'll be able to set trials and promotions for your decks as well. So you'll be able to go into your deck and actually create a promotion, and create promotion codes that you can then send out to your user base or certain user base. We will get to a point as well where we will allow you, for example, people who've trialed your deck, they're anonymous to you unless they've reached out to you on your website, etc. But what we can do is we can say, would you like to send them a coupon? And you can say, send a coupon to everybody that trialed my deck in the last 2 weeks. Here's a 10% coupon, and it's valid for X number of days. So you can start to use this as a promotional tool as well. You see that you've got marketing and fan questions on top of here as well. The marketing is going to be the area where you're going to be, and I forgot to put a screenshot in, but it's really where I'm going to start to put a whole heap of marketing tools in there. Hands up if anyone's used Canva. Amazing Australian invention. Absolutely love it. I mean, it's just amazing. Love what Michelle has done over at Canva. So what I'm going to do is going to create a whole heap of different Canva templates that all you then need to do is take a screenshot and drag and drop your deck and your images into, whether it's on the phone, whether you want to take a short video on the phone of you using your deck, and then create that into a GIF, and find ways that you can actually create Insta Reels, Facebook ads, whatever it might be. We're going to have a whole collection of templates that we'll create as well, and you as creators might want to create them and then share them into the community, for other creators as well. So really what we've done, what we're going to do moving forward, is try and be your marketing department. Try and say, here's as much stuff. We know you're busy. We know you've got other lives and whether other things to do and so forth. So if we can try and relieve that and give you all the things you need and all the tools you'll need, all you then need to do is press the send button. Maybe put your deck in and press the send button, and then hopefully what you'll then see from that is more trials, more sales, and then ultimately by the end of next year, subscription and recurring revenue from membership decks as we move into the next phase of Deckible. Over to you, Nick, now that you're back. I did say you'd probably pop down and had a glass of wine somewhere. You're muted as well.
I got booted out for some reason. I don't know. That was a unique experience. Good. I was glad to come back and see you're all still here. And I was just working my way through some of there was a lot of questions, so I was starting on some of those. Yeah, so basically, it's just classic marketing to relaunch something, and that's just an excuse to relaunch it as a new product. And basically, because we've made so much progress and are thinking about Deckible as a daily practice toolkit, as a companion on your journey for personal growth, and that's really reframed things. And the big thing as well is this seven this looks like very much like a Trivial Pursuit, but the 7-piece Trivial Pursuit segment is we can go and launch, and our plan is to launch Deckible into each of these 7 segments. So we'll go into therapy and coaching, and we'll reach out to journalists and media titles in that space, and we'll reach out to mindfulness and wellness, and we'll reach out another day to tarot and oracle, because these are all different media in media outlets, different people, a different story, right? It's not generic Deckible. People care about what Deckible means to their audience. And so I know each of you have different connections and reach into all these spaces. But so we're going to do a seven different days for 7 segments. We haven't quite planned it, whether we'll do them over 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Some of it is just not trying to avoid Mondays and Fridays, because journalists, trying to find a journalist to work on those days. I'm being funny, but that's part of the plan. It's just so with that level of detail we haven't got to, but we want on each of these days is to have at least 10 decks and 10 creators as spokespeople about that deck, right? So like I see Robert there thinking, hi Robert. Therapy decks, we'd love to have you talk on that subject, right? And feature your deck in that regard, right? So but this is where we're asking for help. If you want to participate in this launch, which of these 7 categories do you fit in? And step up and vocalize that, because we would absolutely adore to because I think when we turn up and talk about the tech, it's great, but when we have an army of creators turning up and talking about their decks, how it applies to that industry or that niche or that space, it just carries so much more weight. So this is the plan that we've got to. It's a living plan, but it's really coming together. So very happy with the idea and very happy with the 7 segments. So that's really cool. And I think one of the things just sometimes it's worth reiterating, right? I said before, repeat, right? There is no upfront cost to you. There is no risk to you being on Deckible. So test more decks. You can bring more decks to Deckible. You are not constrained by the traditional industry cost of I'll need to finance a print run for that, right? You don't have that, right? So print when you're ready. If you're going to go to print, please do a Kickstarter. Even if you have the money, Kickstarter is not about raising money. It's about borrowing Kickstarter's audience, right? I have like crowdsourcing running through my veins, having published a board game, having been a co-founder of Listly. Crowdsourcing is everything to me, because I know it's a free way to borrow audiences from different places, right? So it's a marketing strategy that's cost effective. So if you want to launch your deck, I strongly recommend you do it on Kickstarter. Even if you're going to print it yourself, that's fine. Just set a low price, and you'll set a low limit. Your deck will get published, and then you had a successful Kickstarter. It's just all status and badges that you add, but you are borrowing audience to do that. To reiterate, we bring you tools to help you get found, to make it fun to share your artwork, to help people learn about your deck, to trial it, right? We're just making it easier and easier. And if you don't think that's true, tell me, because we want the feedback. We honestly want the feedback. I want to know where's the friction point, where's the annoying thing in the app. We're really focused on honing that experience, And one thing I can't say this enough, because is people love their printed decks. I love printed decks myself, right? Absolutely. But when you're having a crappy day, when you're having a shitty moment, where's your deck at that moment? I guarantee you, your phone is in your pocket. It's fully charged because you need to pay for things. You need to identify yourself, and your deck is left at home. So just to reiterate that point. So just as a reminder what it's all about. And we are really focusing on taking Deckable to a new consumer because we think the card deck industry can easily be 10 times bigger than it is currently. Because digital can drive that.
And we did this session for our Australia and New Zealand and Antipodean creators this morning, and it was a great question around really it's not one, it's not digital or print, it's both, and they coexist together, and there should be synergies of them together. So we're now starting to think about ways where if you've sold your physical deck and you want to maybe give or have a bonus digital version on Deckable, you could do that. And when someone does a physical draw, they put their phone over the draw, and then the draw gets digitized directly onto their timeline. So they're still interacting with their cards, but it's recorded, and it's recorded in the digital version of the cards on Deckable. So you can get best of both worlds. So there was some really nice thinking that has got us thinking about how we embrace and bring the two together rather than seeing them as two different formats.
So I'm just picking off one question I noticed there. Mary Tanucci just asked this question. I uploaded 3 decks early in the process. I find the process to be complicated. Has that process been simplified since you began? And there's 2 answers to that. One is somewhat yes, it keeps iterating. The checklist is great. It's got easier. But the better answer is we are going to completely re-architect the uploading process, right? So you saw the demo that Mark showed you of the screens for the creator zone. We're basically re-architecting creator zone, and the next, well, not necessarily next, but one of the steps in the creator zone will be the uploading of decks, and it will be beautiful and written in to the same level of UX and standards of the rest of the platform. So, and this is the joy of having 3 more team members. And I'm a coder, but I'm a brutal hacker. I get shit done. It's deeply imperfect, but the rest of the team are, well, the 2 developers on the team are serious engineers, and they wouldn't allow any of that to be done. So it's really cool to have that team support. So I'm stepping down from actively developing things. I will actively prototype and create cool shit and mock-ups and things, but they are taking over responsibility for that. So it is going to get infinitely easier because it's going to look beautiful, and you'll probably be able to upload a deck from a mobile phone or a tablet. It won't be just desktop bound, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was going to say Jane has raised her hand and has a question.
Okay.
So go,
Yeah,
please, Jane, on you mute yourself and go ahead. Jane?
I think it's possible I did reply to some DMs earlier that she may have dropped off the call, or she said she had things to do. But if she's not, she's more than welcome to jump on. So I'm just going to go.
Yeah, you go through the questions, and in the meantime, if anybody does have a question they'd like to ask live, just raise your hand and unmute and go ahead, please.
So Catherine was asking the question, I'm struggling with ideas on how to use my deck with a group ideas, question mark. So I wasn't sure if you were asking about how to use the deck like in a Zoom call, in which case the answer to that's super easy. You plug your phone or your tablet into your Zoom call and you share the screen via Zoom. And then that becomes super easy. We don't have collaborative use of Deckable right now. So each person in the group would need their own deck, and you can use their own deck on their phone. But collaborative use of Deckable is something definitely that we're moving towards.
Yeah, Nick, just on that as well. I know a lot of you spend time talking to your users, your audience and followers, but on calls like Zoom or Teams or anything else where you're sharing your screen. There's a really nice tool if you're not on the Mac, if you're not Apple based, because Apple does it natively. But if you are on Windows and you want have a look at something called Reflector. and that allows you to effectively have use your desktop as an airdrop, not airdrop, AirPlay. So you can actually just go onto your phone and you can project your phone onto a frame of the of an Apple iPhone, and as you're going through doing your demonstrations and showing your decks and so forth, you can just then share your screen, which avoids having to do things like add a new user of our Zoom and then add your phone and be on 2 different calls. It's so it's a nice way of doing it, and I'm going to start to write some documents for the Creator Zone about that, just little tips and tricks as to how to do things and so forth. Sandra, you got a question?
No, I was just
Oh.
thinking it'll be wonderful because I've been fighting trying to get my phone to pair with Zoom and I can't make it happen. So I will love it if you have something else, because I already missed what that other place was to go. So if you write some stuff, then I can read it. I'm better
will
than this
absolutely do a quick write-up and also do a video. The software is called Reflector. I think it's from a company called Squirrel.
Okay.
Reflector, yeah. If you Google Reflector screen, you'll find it, and it's a great piece of software. And it actually, it's relatively cheap. It's like $20, but also it records as well, and so it will record what you're doing, which is going to help you guys when you get into Creator Zone. And I've got templates where you can just drop video into to create GIFs or movies that you want to share with your users as well.
Bruce, you're up next. Hi, Bruce.
Yeah, so, I was just wondering about when you were talking about responsive design, and
Yeah.
there's been a lot of issues with tablets.
Right.
For instance, I have an Android 12 tablet, and it just says, "Looking for Deckible, this app won't work on your device." It's on Android, but what I'm finding is when I talk to people, I try to show them the app on a phone, and it's really difficult to move stuff around or compared to a tablet. Once when I had it working on the tablet, people were like, "Oh yeah," and the phone, it's like, I don't know, I can't really see what's going on. So that the fact that there's not support for tablets, I think, is a big gap, because that's really where it comes alive.
Right.
So
Okay.
I don't know if there's something in the pipeline for that.
Well, yeah, and we've done. Well, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a really good question, Bruce, and as you probably also aware that there is an iPad version, although that does tend to work better in portrait rather than landscape, which is a bit alien to me because I don't tend to hold my iPad in portrait. I hold my phone in portrait and not landscape. So we're working with the development team on that at the moment to make an Apple iPad specific version, which will lock people into at the right time into landscape rather than portrait mode. But the point about Android's really important as well. We've been working. I was working with the development team today on the Android versions, and we are looking at tablet support for Android. But maybe some people might remember Netscape Navigator. It's 25 years old browser. When we were building the first internet applications, building them to support browsers was an absolute beast, because there were about 20 different versions, and Netscape Navigator had about 15 different versions, and then you had Microsoft Internet Explorer, and trying to get your code to work on all those different versions was really painful. And tablets came along, and Android OS and iOS, it made it a little easier. But then the Android market just split up, and there's so many different device manufacturers, and it becomes quite and Google are very, very good at bringing out new versions of their OS, that it has sort of created the same snowball effect in Android. iOS very different, because Apple don't let you do much, and like to keep control. Google let you do as much as you like. The two companies couldn't be different to deal with. So we are looking at Android tablet support, and we're looking at what baseline, i.e., what Android operating system would make the right point to jump in. So by doing that, we're looking at who comes to our who's hitting our website, who's trying to use it and requesting it on Android. So we're looking at the data as well to try and make those decisions. But it is something that we are very, very keen to work on, because we know we're with you. We think it looks beautiful on tablets as well.
Bruce,
Yeah,
one of the other
you,
things. So go on.
I just say it used to work on the tablet I have, but whatever latest version, it's no longer compliant. Yeah.
Yes, it was something in the latest release of the Android OS that when we resubmit it to the store, it says, "Hang on, we've either deprecated something or that we need to look at." So we have got Paul and Jason looking at it at this moment in time.
Yeah. And one of the other things, Bruce, is that basically Deckible is built using Flutter, and Flutter is a development platform from Google. And it lets us build for iOS and Android. But the really cool thing, it also lets us build for the desktop.
Yeah.
And so, quite honestly, the desktop is almost more exciting than the tablet, because you've got the full screen. You can move things around. There is some slight interface changes because you can't touch the screen anymore. You have to hit buttons to go next and previous and rotate and all that stuff, right? But so we're very excited about that, and we've had prototypes running along the way on the desktop. We just haven't deployed it, because as soon as we deploy it to you guys, then we've got to support it from here on in. So we're trying to make the right decision about what time to do that, but very much we think that's great. So I'm just trying to keep going down the question. Deck is the way to go. Yeah, definitely. We definitely. I'm just looking at that was Christine Gold's question about a divination tool. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, still I'm glad you like the idea, the moving from participation consumption. I'm a big fan of that too.
Nick, I've got one here from Jess about trials, which is really important. So
go for it.
She says each person who comes to Deckible will have a trial credit for our decks starting when. So the process will be it's either going to be 5 or 10. Nick's favouring 10, and I'm probably with him on that. The more trials that we can get people using, the better. So that trial credit, they'll be able to use one on any of the decks in the store. So what we want you to do is drive, of course, trying to get them to use those a credit on your decks, which is the marketing piece that comes in there. But also, it's going to start with the relaunch. So when we relaunch and trials is released as in the App Store, that's when it'll kick off. So it's all part of this relaunch that we're focused on. And
very important. What was I going to say? Well, I had a very important thing to say there, and it's gone out of my head. Oh yes, the reason we have these credits is because human beings would they could literally, there's 500 decks on Deckible. People could just turn up and evaluate one deck every 3 days, and it would be 3 years before they'd made it through all the decks on Deckible, right? So that's what the threshold is there for, and to drive people to use their credits intelligently. And also, we're more than happy to give people more credits, or share your Deckible, do this. There's various things that we can do to drive people. Am I mute?
No, you're not. No. And another thing as well is that we haven't touched on, but along with the trials is notifications.
Can you hear me?
We can. Yes.
You can. Okay, right, cool.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was somewhat distracted by various Zoom messages that were popping up on my screen.
So
that's the purpose of it, is that really we're all in the business of selling decks, right? So we want you to sell decks, we want to sell decks, we want to pay for the platform by selling decks, and that's why the credits are there. Anna, you asked about the women's category. We actually have that. I think your deck is already in the category. I did it, but I didn't get to tell you about it. So there are 2 types of categories on Deckible. There are ones that are available in the store, because we have to have a short list of categories. And there are other more broader categories that are more like SEO driven categories on Deckible. And we can create as many SEO categories as we want and put as many decks in each category as possible, because that generates more SEO. So we've already created that. But I can talk through that more. I can talk through that individually with you if that makes more sense. I feel like I'm not being very clear right now, but it's easier to show it with your deck.
Nick, can you hear
Can
us?
purely digital be uploaded? No,
You
yeah,
can't.
absolutely, Deanna. Decks do not have to have a printed version. You can have a digital only version. I'm not finding feel well. Oh, the field wheel isn't published yet. That's why it's there. If but if anyone wants to try, and who here would like to try the field wheel app? If anyone wants to try the field wheel app, just send me an email and I'll send you a credit to get that deck. So I can, no problem, give you a coupon for that. We're gonna photo. Yes, well, that's a good question, Anna D. You're asking about digitally, can somebody pick a card on a Zoom call? You could you could show your deck and let them pick a card, but they can't touch it currently. But that's definitely part of the plan when we go to desktop and enable collaboration. So, how do you use decks? Yeah, so you used, oh, that was James. Anna asked a question about updating collages and should they be available. Let me look at that and see. It should be updated, especially if you update the version and zip it. So that I'd have to check. Anna, if you can give me a specific deck example, I can double check. But I believe that's the case. And if not, I can tell you what to do with it if it is. But it's hard to explain. Much easier to just deal with a specific deck. Deanna asked, how would a publisher benefit from Deckible, like Schiffer, for example? Well, simply, we would love to get publishers on Deckible, bringing their whole catalog to Deckible. So the idea is if we brought a publisher to Deckible, they could bring all their decks with them, and then basically they would make revenue from Deckible in the same way, because the individual creators wouldn't be bringing their decks to Deckible. It would be the publisher. But that's part of our plan. There's test that one. Do we have compatibility? Test that one. Okay. Okay, I'm pretty far down the question list at this point. If anyone's got any questions, they want to put their hand up. Otherwise, I'm just check it on Mark. You go for it.
Yeah, I don't think you can hear us, Nick. So, so I was saying to everyone,
You're muted, Mark. I don't know what's going on.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. You can't hear us.
Oh,
so everybody else can hear us.
okay.
Hear
Now
me.
it's back. There was a Zoom button. Could you hear me? No.
We could hear you. Yes. Otherwise,
Okay.
I would have stepped in.
Okay.
I was just saying, Nick, that as part of trials, as part of the platform, we're introducing notifications. On nudge experiences, and this is going to help us with challenges. And so you can start to see the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle that we're starting to build into the platform and into the app. So you'll be able to use notifications to effectively, when you want to promote for example, promote a deck, or say, I'd like to give a discount code to 10% off if you've trialed it, it'll actually ping that user in the app, because it'll know which user it is and ping them. So we'll have notifications in app which we'll be able to use to prompt for nudges, prompts to say, hey, have you done a draw today, or why don't you do this, or why don't you think about journaling. So we're going to put some notification process in there as well, and we think that will also help you guys market your decks to your users and to the people that trial the decks as well. Cool.
Okay. These seminars are going different from the store. Yeah. Yes, Catherine, they are. The 7 segments are different than the deck store, but this is kind of, I guess, the source of progress is to do things differently and see what works. And the 7 just feels simpler to talk about than the 18 that we have. And we may actually introduce a hierarchy of like the 7 and then sub-segments beneath that. But yeah. Okay. Oh, Laura. Hey, how you doing?
I think Mark might have been before me.
Oh,
You see Mark?
Marta.
No?
Marta.
Okay.
okay. Oh,
No.
sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
You and I had talked about this before, and I just was wondering if there's been any movement on the ability to clarify with cards on a spread. You had talked about cloths at one point. I just have decks that are meant to work together with
Right.
the spread and then the clarifying cards. And I just was wondering if anything's happened with that. I know we went back and forth a little about it, and then I never heard about it again.
So I've shared that with the team, with Mark, it's in our top, in our top 4 list of the top 4 things we want to do, because we recognize that the spreads are wonderful, but they're very rigid. And so being able to just put a cloth behind the cards, and that I know Bruce will love this, is that you could literally design a canvas behind it, like what's all those business canvases. You could literally draw a piece of, put a canvas behind the cards and move cards to different spaces inside a canvas. So there's so many uses for it.
Literally like a reading cloth, like, and
Yeah,
then you can
totally. That's
many of them as you want, just like the spreads, and being able to, I mean, like, that's kind of a big thing for me in my personal practice, but definitely in the way that I want to share my cards with other people.
Thank you for raising that. It's really great to hear that as a request.
Thanks, Marta. Laura, go ahead.
Okay. I love all the new development. It sounds amazing. I have a question. As you seek like publishing catalogs, etc., we have sort of a non-compete. Right. Are you creating competition? Internal competition, in a sense?
No, I don't think we're just what we view that we're creating is more accessibility to the platform, right? I also see that the exclusivity with Deckible does not stop you from printing anything. And we also see ourselves offering a brokering service to help publishers find decks and creators to find publishers. So I think it's the opposite. It's more that we will fuel connection and be like a dating, mating service between creators and publishers.
I'd probably term it more co-opetition rather than competition, because the two do go hand in hand. So yes, if we were to bring a publisher on and they were to bring some decks with them, what they are also bringing is a huge amount of followers of those decks. And those followers will love Deckible, will go into Deckible, will go into the deck store, will find your decks, will trial your decks. So in many ways, where someone goes into a store today and is browsing physical decks, and someone put, I think it was Anna, put on that, I find some of them are shrink wrapped. I can't open them up unless I'm at an event where somebody's literally got a demo one open and is doing some draws and showing the cards. I can't touch and feel them. They're shrink wrapped. I can't do anything. So whereas trials is giving us this opportunity to say, oh yeah, that's nice. Oh, I like that artwork. I do like that. That worked for me. That resonates with me. That those words resonate with me. So I do feel that by bringing on a publishing house that come with a number of decks, we shouldn't see it as competition. We should see it as actually that's just bringing more people onto the platform who follow that publishing house, who are probably equally keen to look at the other decks in the same category as what they like. So I feel that will bring more opportunity rather than reduced opportunity.
That's a good way to look at it. That's an ideal way of looking at it. But when I hear like a Simon & Schuster or whatever the organization is, I'm like, wow, I'm sort of not competing or co-peting, whatever that was, but I'm sort of, while they bring followers, they also probably have deep pockets for promotion and other ways to get people to buy their specific deck. I'm not worried though, but I just thought that was just a little bit of a
No, I understand. I understand, and at Deckible, our point of view is that we are a platform for all creators, whether they're hobbyist, amateur creators, all the way through to professional creators like yourselves. So I feel that we take that on board, and we will ensure that there isn't and the store is and the deck store is surfacing up things that are relevant to those users as well, just as Apple do today, and will not be biased because one's coming from a publishing house rather than an individual creator. It will be focused on what that deck means to that user, and whether it's something they browse, or it's a category they like, whether they bought decks in that category before, whether it's an adjacent category that we feel that actually that person likes this, but they might also like this. So we're very much into it's our responsibility as the custodians of that data and that platform data to try and actually market as many of your decks to as many people as possible, and that's what we will continue to do, and we'll take that as our mantra to ensure that every individual creator who comes and brings their decks to Deckible has a same opportunity to make deck sales and to increase their following, and to eventually become into a subscription recurring revenue as well.
Well, thank you.
Oh, okay. It's like one question that was raised was, have we made the journaling secure? And that's definitely on the list to what's the word for it?
So it would be end-to-end. It'd be end-to-end encryption.
Yeah.
What we're looking at doing is pretty much taking the WhatsApp approach, which means that it'll be public. I don't want to get too technical, but public-private key. We'll store it as an encrypted piece of data. The app will decrypt it as a piece of data, and only the end user will ever see it. They may choose to share that journal with that drawer into an Insta reel with some music behind at some point. That becomes their decision to do that. Okay, and once they do that, once it's out there, we can't keep it encrypted because it's on somebody else's platform. But whilst it's on our platform, it will be encrypted both at rest on our servers.
Okay. How are we doing, everyone? Are we?
That's really good to hear, Diana. I hadn't even thought of HIPAA for end-to-end encryption, but absolutely. I come from my last gig was in a healthcare company, and yeah, you're absolutely right. That would help from an end-to-end encryption perspective.
Okay, my God, I've still got 28 messages to scroll through.
We're 30 minutes over the allotted time. We've kept these good people way too long. I suggest what will happen is that we'll have the chat list you and I stay on